Imagine a dedicated teacher, Hannah, treats her students like family. Lucas, a shy but talented boy, holds a special place in her heart. He's like the son she never had, and she's committed to helping him succeed. But everything changes when someone from her past suddenly reappears. Alex, an old college friend, shows up out of nowhere, bringing with him secrets that Hannah never expected. With just a few words, Alex turns Hannah's world upside down, raising questions about who Lucas really is and what Hannah's role in his life should be. As Hannah tries to protect Lucas, hidden truths and past choices threaten to tear everything apart. She's about to learn that the answers she's been seeking come with a price, and sometimes what's buried in the past has the power to change everything in an instant. As I stood at the front of my art classroom, a gentle hum of creativity enveloped me. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting warm golden hues across the room, illuminating the canvases that adorned the walls. Among the students, I couldn't help but be drawn to Lucas. Quiet, introspective boy with an extraordinary talent. He sat at his desk, his brow furrowed in concentration as he meticulously sketched the outline of a landscape. His pencil danced across the paper, capturing shadows and light in a way that left me in awe. "Lucas," I called softly, hoping to break the spell he was under without startling him. "That's beautiful. You have such a unique perspective." He looked up, his deep brown eyes momentarily wide with surprise. Then the corners of his mouth twitched upward in a shy smile. "Thanks, Miss Hannah," he mumbled, glancing back at his drawing as if it held all the answers to the world. I moved closer, peering over his shoulder to admire his work. "You really see things differently. Have you ever thought about entering the art contest next month?" I asked, trying to encourage him. "I don't know," he replied hesitantly, his voice barely above a whisper. "What if I don't win?" "Winning isn't everything, Lucas," I reassured him, my heart aching at the shadows I could see lurking in his expression. "It's about sharing your art and expressing yourself. Your talent deserves to be seen." He bit his lip, flicker of hope passing over his features, but it was quickly replaced by a hint of sadness. I wanted to reach out, to comfort him, but I knew he needed to open up on his own terms. After class, as the other students filed out, I stayed behind, gathering my materials. I spotted Lucas lingering by the door, hesitant. I gestured for him to come over. "Lucas, is everything okay? You seem a bit distant today." He hesitated, glancing down at his worn sneakers before meeting my gaze. "It's just, my mom is working a lot. Sometimes it feels like it's just me at home," he admitted, his voice quivering slightly. My heart sank. "That sounds really tough. You want to talk about it?" He shrugged, the weight of his troubles pressing down on him. "I don't want to be a burden, Miss Hannah. It's not that bad, really. I just wish things were different." "You could never be a burden to me, Lucas," I said firmly, hoping to reassure him. "You're like family to me. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. And remember, I'm more than happy to help you with that art contest. Your voice deserves to be heard." He nodded slowly, but I could see the uncertainty clouding his eyes. I felt a surge of protectiveness towards him, fierce desire to shield him from whatever struggles he faced at home. The thought of him carrying such a heavy burden alone made me ache. Later that week, during a parent-teacher meeting, I found myself standing in front of a crowd of parents, sharing my passion for teaching and my commitment to my students. I spoke earnestly about the importance of nurturing creativity, my eyes wandering occasionally to where Lucas sat, slouched in his chair, his eyes downcast. "Lucas has such a remarkable gift," I said, my voice carrying a hint of pride. "He has a unique way of expressing himself through his art, and I believe he can achieve great things if he continues to pursue it." As I spoke, I noticed a flicker of discomfort cross Lucas's face. It was as if he wanted to shrink away from the attention, hide. I felt a pang of worry. There was something he wasn't sharing, a secret burden he carried that made him feel unworthy of praise. After the meeting, as parents began to filter out, I approached Lucas, who was still seated, staring at the floor. "Hey, you okay?" I asked gently. He shrugged again, his voice barely audible. I don't know if I can live up to what you said." "Lucas, you already are," I insisted, kneeling beside him so we were eye to eye. "You're talented and special. Don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you otherwise." He managed a weak smile, but I could see the storm brewing behind his eyes. There was so much more beneath the surface. I felt a growing urgency to help him navigate whatever darkness he faced. I silently vowed that I wouldn't give up on him, no matter what challenges lay ahead. I was wrapping up my art class when I noticed Lucas. He was sitting at his desk, his brow furrowed in concentration as his pencil danced across the paper. I felt a swell of pride watching him, but there was also an undeniable heaviness in my chest. Lucas had this incredible talent, and yet there was a shadow behind his eyes that I couldn't quite shake off. "Lucas," I called softly, hoping to draw him out of his artistic trance. "Can I see what you've got there?" He looked up, startled, as if I had just pulled him from a dream. "Oh, it's nothing really," he stammered, quickly flipping the page to hide his work. "Nothing? I doubt that," I replied, trying to keep my tone light. "You know, I can always tell when you've created something special." He hesitated, biting his lip, and then slowly turned the page back. My heart sank. The drawing was a landscape filled with dark clouds and twisted trees, an unsettling image that reflected more than just a simple scene. "Lucas, this is powerful," I said, searching for the right words. "But it also looks heavy. Is everything okay at home?" He shrugged, his gaze dropping to the desk. "Fine, just school and stuff." "School can be tough," I encouraged, stepping closer. "You know you can talk to me, right? Whatever it is, I'm here for you." After a moment of silence, he sighed deeply, as if the weight of the world rested on his young shoulders. "My mom works a lot. Sometimes we don't have enough money for food, and I don't want to burden her with my problems." "Lucas, you could never be a burden," I reassured him gently. "You're like family to me. Have you thought about entering that art competition I mentioned? Could be a great opportunity for you." He looked up, his eyes flickering with a hint of hope. "Maybe. Let's talk about it more tomorrow," I said, giving him a small smile. "You have talent that deserves to be seen." As the day faded into twilight, I couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was troubling him. The next day, as I prepared for class, my mind drifted back to Lucas and his heavy heart. I decided to keep a watchful eye, hoping to uncover whatever secrets he was holding inside. Later that afternoon, as the students filtered out of the classroom, I noticed Lucas staring at his phone, a frown etched on his face. My instincts kicked in. "Everything all right, Lucas?" I asked, my voice laced with concern. "It's just a message," he replied quickly, shoving the phone into his pocket. "Who is it from?" I pressed gently. "Just a friend," he said, avoiding my gaze. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. "You know you can trust me, right? If someone's bothering you—" "It's fine, really," he interrupted, raising his hands defensively. I can handle it." "Okay, but if you need help, I'm here," I said, my tone softening. Just then, my attention was drawn to a car parked outside the school. A man sat inside, his eyes fixed on the entrant. My heart raced as I watched Lucas glance toward the vehicle, his expression shifting from confusion to apprehension. "Lucas, stay here," I instructed, my instincts screaming that something wasn't right. But it was too late. He moved toward the car, stepping into the unknown. I felt a surge of panic rise within me. "Lucas," I called out, but he didn't look back. I stood frozen, my heart pounding in my chest as anxiety coursed through my veins. Who was that man? Why was he here for Lucas? A million questions raced through my mind, and my protective instinct ignited. I couldn't let anything happen to him. My resolve solidified. I needed to find out who was behind this sudden appearance in Lucas's life. I wouldn't rest until I uncovered the truth. As I stood in the classroom, I watched Lucas from a distance, his brow furrowed in concentration as he sketched with fervor. The sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating his talent, but there was a shadow lurking in his eyes that I couldn't ignore. I had always felt a protective urge towards him, as if he were my own child. It was a feeling I had nurtured since the day he first stepped into my art class. A timid boy with a quiet brilliance that shone like a beacon amidst the chaos of adolescence. But today, something felt different. My instincts prickled as I noticed a man parked outside the school, watching Lucas intently. My heart raced as I recognized him, a blast from the past that I had tried so hard to bury. Alex. My mind flooded with memories of late-night conversations and dreams shared, but those memories were tainted with regret and unresolved tension. I hadn't seen him in years, not since everything had shattered between us. "Lucas," I called, forcing a casual tone into my voice. "Can you come here for a moment?" He looked up, startled, as if he'd been pulled from a dream. I gestured for him to join me at the front of the classroom. "I need to talk to you about something." As he approached, I stole another glance at the man in the car. He had stepped out now, and I could see his face more clearly. Time had changed him. He looked older, more rugged, as if the weight of the world had settled on his shoulders. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. "Is everything okay, Miss Hannah?" Lucas asked, voice laced with concern. "Yes, it's just, I noticed someone outside." "Man, you know him?" I tried to keep my tone light, but the tremor in my voice betrayed me. Lucas hesitated. "I think so. He's someone from my past," he murmured, looking down at his shoes, avoiding my gaze. "Lucas, you can talk to me about anything. You know that, right?" I pressed, searching his face for answers. He nodded slowly, but there was a flicker of fear in his eyes. "It's just complicated," he whispered, glancing back at the car. In that moment, the man, Alex, called out, "Lucas, come here." His voice was confident, demanding attention. I felt a rush of protectiveness surge within me, a visceral urge to shield Lucas from whatever storm was brewing outside. "Stay right here," I instructed, my tone firm. I moved towards the door, my heart pounding in my chest. As I stepped outside, I could hear Alex's voice, smooth and persuasive, like it used to be. "Lucas, I need to talk to you. It's important," Alex insisted, his eyes locked onto Lucas with an intensity that made me uneasy. "Who is he?" I interjected, stepping between them, my instincts flaring. "What do you want with him?" Alex turned to me, surprise flashing across his face. "Hannah," he said, his voice dropping. "I didn't expect to see you here. I just want to talk to Lucas. It's about his future." "His future?" I echoed incredulously. "You think you can just waltz back in after all these years and talk about his future?" "Please, just let me explain," Alex pleaded, looking at Lucas, who stood frozen, caught in the crossfire of our emotions. "What do you mean, explain?" I shot back, feeling a surge of anger. "You disappeared, Alex. You left without a word. Now you want to play the concerned father?" Lucas shifted uncomfortably, glancing between us. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. I could see the confusion etched on his face, and it broke my heart. "Lucas, Before I could finish, Alex interrupted. "Lucas, I need to tell you something important. Something about your family." My heart sank as I realized the implications of his words. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. I had long been a source of stability in Lucas's life, but now, everything was unraveling. "Just tell me," Lucas demanded, his voice firm yet tinged with fear. As Alex hesitated, I could see the weight of the moment pressing down on him. I stepped closer to Lucas, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to listen to him if you don't want to, Lucas." But Lucas shook his head, the determination in his eyes igniting a flicker of hope in my heart. "No, I want to know," he insisted. "I deserve to know what's going on." I could only watch, helpless, as Alex took a deep breath, his gaze steady on Lucas. "You're my son, Lucas," he said, each word dropping like a stone into the silence that enveloped us. The air grew thick with unspoken truths, and I felt the world around me spin as I processed the weight of his revelation. I stood in the small, cluttered art room, surrounded by the smell of paint and the soft hum of students chatting as they wrapped up their project. My heart raced as I recalled the conversation I'd just had with Alex. It felt surreal, like something out of a poorly written drama. Lucas was just a few feet away, his focus on a canvas that seemed to absorb all his attention. He had no idea that everything was about to change. "Lucas," called, trying to keep my voice steady. "Can you come here for a moment?" He looked up, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. "Is something wrong, Miss Hannah?" I shook my head, trying to suppress the wave of emotions threatening to wash over me. "No, not wrong. Just important." As he approached, I felt the weight of the truth pressing down on me. How was I supposed to explain this? How could I tell him that Alex, the man from my past I had spent years trying to forget, was his father? The thought twisted in my stomach like a knife. "Everything okay?" Lucas asked, his brow furrowing deeper. "You look a little pale." Forced to smile, but it felt brittle. "I just had a conversation with someone from my past. Someone you might want to know about." "Oh?" he asked, crossing his arms defensively. Is it about my mom? I hesitated, the words catching in my throat. It's about your father, Lucas. His eyes widened in confusion. My father? I don't have a father. My mom said. Lucas, I know what your mother has said. I interrupted gently, my heart pounding in my chest. But there's something I need to tell you. Alex, he's your father. Silence enveloped the room, the chatter of other students fading into a distant hum. I could see the wheels turning in Lucas's mind, his expression shifting from confusion to disbelief. What do you mean? Alex, he didn't know about you until recently. He didn't realize you existed, Lucas. It's complicated, but I never told him. I didn't think it was right at the time. Lucas stepped back, shaking his head. You're messing with me. This isn't funny. It's not a joke, I assured him, my voice trembling. I know this is a lot to take in, but I need you to believe me. He looked down, processing my words, his fingers fidgeting with the edge of his shirt. Why didn't you tell me? Why hide this? The hurt in his voice cut deep. I thought I was protecting you. I thought it was best for you to have a normal life without all the complications that come with having a father like Alex. Like Alex? He echoed, a bitter edge creeping into his tone. What does that even mean? He's just some guy who left, right? Do I care? Lucas, please. I took a step closer, desperate to reach him. It's not that simple. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be. But I did what I thought was best, and I was wrong. He met my gaze, and I could see the hurt and betrayal swirling in his eyes. You should have trusted me enough to tell me. I'm not a kid anymore, Miss Hannah. I can handle the truth. I know you can, I said softly, and I should have trusted you. I didn't know how to say it. I thought I was protecting you from the pain of knowing your father might not want you. I don't even know him, Lucas said, his voice barely above a whisper. How can I care about someone I've never met? I understand, I replied, my heart breaking for him. But sometimes the truth has a way of changing everything. You deserve to know who you are, Lucas. You deserve to know your family. Turned away, his silhouette tense and rigid. I need some time, he said, voice strained. Lucas? But he was already walking away, the distance between us stretching further than I ever thought possible. I felt as though I had lost him in that moment, as if the bond we had built over the years had shattered in an instant. I stood there, feeling the weight of my decisions crashing down on me like waves. How had it come to this? How had I let our lives become entangled in such a painful web of secrets? I had wanted to protect him, but instead I had pushed him away. Now, all I could do was watch as he stepped into a world that was as unfamiliar to him as it was to me. I stood in the dimly lit corridor of the school, my heart racing as I watched Lucas walk away from me. The distance between us felt monumental. Chasm created by secrets and revelations that I had been too afraid to confront. I could see the confusion etched on his face, his brows furrowed in a mixture of worry and anger. He had sensed the shift, and the weight of unspoken truths hung heavily in the air. Lucas, I called hesitantly, my voice trembling slightly. He paused, half turning, but the space between us felt insurmountable. I took a deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts, but the words eluded me. Can we talk? He turned fully to face me, expression a mix of frustration and hurt. What is there to talk about, Miss Hannah? I feel like you've been hiding something from me. I know it seems that way. I took a step closer, my hands clasped tightly in front of me. But please understand, I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I was protecting you. Protecting me? By keeping me in the dark? I don't even know who I am anymore. His voice cracked, and it tore at my heart. I wanted to reach out, comfort him, but I felt like an outsider in my own role as his mentor. Lucas, please, just listen to me, I pleaded. I care about you more than you can imagine. I've never stopped believing in you or your talent. It felt like the right choice at the time to keep Alex's identity a secret. Now, I hesitated, unsure of how to continue. Now, everything is different. Different? You mean because he just waltzed back into our lives? Because suddenly I have a father I didn't even know existed? His voice rose, echoing in the empty hallway. What about you, Miss Hannah? What role do I even play in your life now? My heart sank at the realization that he felt like an outsider in my life as well. You're still my student, and you will always be important to me. But I can't deny that everything has changed. I'm scared, Lucas. Scared? You think I'm not scared? He threw his arms up in frustration. I don't know who to trust anymore. I thought you were the one person I could count on. I felt the sting of tears in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. You can count on me. I'm still here, but I can't pretend that this isn't complicated. I need to find a way to explain this to you, to help you understand. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I'd come to recognize as a sign of his inner turmoil. I just don't get it. Why didn't you tell me the truth about my father? Why keep me in the dark all this time? I thought I was doing what was best for you, I said softly, my voice barely above a whisper. I wanted to give you the chance to grow up without the complications of that world. I wanted you to have a normal life. Normal? Is that what you call this? His eyes were wide with disbelief. I feel like I don't even know who I am anymore. I thought you were my family. I took another step forward, my heart aching at his words. You are my family, Lucas. You always will be. I love you like you're my own. But I also need you to know the truth, even if it hurts. He shook his head, his expression torn between anger and sadness. I need time to think. I don't want to talk to you right now. Lucas, please. My voice broke, and I felt the weight of my own failures crashing down on me. I reached out, but he stepped back, creating more distance between us. I can't, he said, his voice firm despite the tremor in it. I need to figure this out on my own. And with that, he turned and walked away, leaving me standing alone in the corridor, feeling as if my heart had been ripped from my chest. I stood there, paralyzed by the gravity of it all. The echoes of our conversation hung in the air, a reminder of the bond we were losing. I felt utterly helpless, torn between my love for Lucas and the reality of the situation. I stood at the front of the classroom, my heart racing as I presented the lesson for the day. All right, everyone, let's dive into the world of color theory, I said, trying to project confidence despite the storm brewing inside me. The students' eyes were on me, some expectant, others lost in their own thoughts. But all I could think about was Lucas. As I explained the principles of warm and cool colors, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Lucas had been distant lately, his vibrant spark dimmed by an invisible weight. I glanced his way and saw him staring blankly at his canvas, his paintbrush hovering midair. Lucas, I called, my voice a bit sharper than intended. What do you think about using complementary colors to create contrast? He blinked, startled, then shrugged. I don't know, Miss Hannah. I guess it could work. I felt a pang of disappointment. Remember, art is about expressing yourself. Don't hold back. Let your emotions guide you. He nodded but didn't seem convinced. I sighed internally, wishing I could reach into his mind and pull out whatever was troubling him. After class, I watched as the other students filed out, leaving Lucas behind. I approached him, my heart heavy with concern. Hey Lucas, can we talk for a moment? He hesitated, then nodded, his gaze downcast. Sure, Miss Hannah. Is everything okay at home? You've seemed a bit off lately. He shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my eyes. It's just, things are tough. My mom's working so much, and we're barely making ends meet. I felt my heart ache for him. You know I'm here for you, right? If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask. He managed a weak smile. Thanks, I appreciate it. I just don't want to be a burden. You could never be a burden, Lucas. You're an incredibly talented artist, and you deserve to pursue your dreams. Have you thought about entering that art competition I mentioned? He looked thoughtful for a moment. Maybe, I just don't know if I have what it takes. Of course you do. You have a unique voice, and I believe in you. I placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Let's work on that together. I'll help you with your submission. Okay, he said, his tone brightening slightly. Thanks, Miss Hannah. As he left, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled in my stomach. I needed to protect him, to guide him through whatever turmoil he was facing. My instincts kicked in, and I decided to do a little digging. The next day, during lunch, I discreetly asked a few students if they had seen Lucas with anyone unusual after school, but they shook their heads. He mostly keeps to himself, one of them said. I felt a mix of concern and frustration. I knew there was more to the story. Later, as I prepared for my afternoon class, I noticed a car parked out front. A man stepped out, and my heart sank. He called Lucas's name. I squinted, trying to see him better. My stomach knotted as I recognized the man. It was Alex, my ex-colleague, and someone from my past I had tried to forget. "Lucas," I heard him shout again. My instincts kicked in, and I felt a rush of protective energy. I couldn't let this man, someone who was part of a life I had closed the door on, have any influence over Lucas. I watched as Lucas emerged from the school, hesitating before walking toward Alex. "What's going on?" I whispered to myself, my heart racing. I felt an overwhelming urge to intervene, to pull Lucas back, but something held me in place. Perhaps it was the fear of overstepping or the dread of stirring up the past. As they exchanged words, I felt my stomach twist. Lucas climbed into the car, and I stood frozen, my mind racing with questions and fears. What was Alex doing here? And why was Lucas going with him? This couldn't be good. I needed to find out more, not just for Lucas's sake, for my own peace of mind. I had to protect him, whatever it took. As I stood in the bustling gymnasium, transformed into a gallery for the school's art event, I felt a knot tightening in my stomach. The walls were adorned with colorful pieces, each one a reflection of the students' diverse experiences and emotions. My heart raced as I searched for Lucas among the crowd. It was his moment to shine, and I both anticipated and dreaded it. "Miss Hannah, look at this one." A voice broke through my thoughts. It was one of my students, excitedly pointing at a vibrant painting. I smiled and nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. Lucas was supposed to present his piece tonight, and I was anxious about how it would be received. Finally, I spotted him across the room, standing next to his artwork, a massive canvas that seemed to pulse with energy. Depicted a stormy sea, waves crashing violently against jagged rocks, the sky above swirling with dark clouds. I could see the turmoil in his brushstrokes, chaos of emotions captured in every detail. I approached him, my heart swelling with pride and concern. "Lucas," I said softly, "this is incredible. You've poured so much of yourself into this." Turned to me, his eyes reflecting a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Thanks, Miss Hannah. I wanted to show what it feels like inside my head. It's been a lot lately." I could sense the weight of his words. "I understand. Art can be a powerful way to express what we sometimes can't say out loud." As we stood there, I noticed Alex entering the gym. My heart sank. He was here, and I could see the way Lucas's gaze shifted towards him, flicker of hope and uncertainty crossing his features. The moment Alex approached, he called out, "Lucas, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you." A wave of discomfort washed over me. Alex's voice rang out with admiration, but it felt like an intrusion. I could see the way Lucas beamed at his father's praise, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my place in Lucas's life was slipping away. "Thanks, Dad," Lucas replied, his voice a mixture of joy and confusion. I was trying to express something important. As the evening unfolded, I watched Lucas navigate between his father and me, each interaction a delicate dance. Alex continued to heap praise on Lucas, his words sounding both genuine and rehearsed. "You have a real gift, son. You should consider pursuing this seriously." Lucas's eyes sparkled with admiration, but I could see the shadows lurking beneath. "I don't know. It's just, art is my escape. I'm not sure if I'm good enough." "Don't sell yourself short," Alex insisted, his tone firm. "You're more than good enough. You're talented, and you need to embrace that." I stepped closer, sensing that I had to intervene. "Lucas, remember, art is about expressing yourself, not meeting someone else's expectations. You have to create for you, not for anyone else." Lucas looked between us, uncertainty clouding his features. I just want to be accepted. I want to feel like I belong." My heart ached at his words. "You belong, Lucas. You belong with people who love you for who you are, who appreciate your talent without conditions." "Like you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, like me," I affirmed, my heart pounding with emotion. But before I could continue, Lucas's gaze shifted back to Alex, and I felt the distance between us widening. It was as if I could physically feel the divide growing, fueled by secrets and unspoken truths. "Lucas, you need to know something," I began, desperate to bridge that gap. Before I could gather my thoughts, he turned to me with a fierce look in his eyes. "Why didn't you tell me about him? Why didn't you say anything about my dad?" His voice trembled, a mix of anger and hurt. The weight of his words hit me like a tidal wave. "Lucas, cut me off," his frustration palpable. You've been my only support, and now I find out I have a father who's been here all along? How could you not tell me? The gym felt like it was closing in around us. I took a deep breath, searching for the right words. I didn't know how to explain it, Lucas. I was trying to protect you. Protect me? Or yourself? He shot back, the pain in his voice cutting deeper than I could have imagined. As I stood there, the truth hung heavy in the air between us. I realized that the time for hiding was over. I had to confront this, for him and for myself. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest as I looked into Lucas's eyes. The moment had come, the moment I had dreaded yet knew was inevitable. I could see the confusion etched across his face, the way his brow furrowed as he tried to piece together the fragments of our story. Lucas, I began, my voice wavering slightly. There's something important we need to talk about. He crossed his arms defensively, his body language screaming tension. What is it, Hannah? Why do you look like you've seen a ghost? I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the truth pressing down on me. It's about your father, Alex. My heart clenched as I uttered his name. He's your father. What? Lucas's voice rose, a mix of disbelief and anger. You're kidding, right? You're telling me that this guy who just pops back into our lives is my dad? Why didn't you ever tell me? I wanted to protect you, I replied, my heart aching as I saw the storm brewing in his eyes. When I found out I was pregnant, it was complicated. I didn't want you to be part of that chaos. I thought it was best for you. Best for me? He shouted. You kept this from me my whole life. How is that best for me? I feel like my entire world is built on lies. I stepped forward, desperate to reach him, to make him understand. Please, just listen. I didn't want to take you away from him. I thought you'd have a better life without the drama that comes with being connected to someone like Alex. Pressures, the expectations. I was scared for you, Lucas. I thought keeping you away from him was the right thing to do. Shook his head, tears brimming in his eyes. But who am I? I don't even know who I am anymore. If he's my father, what does that make you? What does it make me? Lucas, you are still you, I implored, my voice trembling. This doesn't change the incredible person you are. You're talented, kind, and you have a future ahead of you. Just because he's your biological father doesn't mean he defines you. Your identity is not solely based on him. His gaze fell to the ground, and I could see the internal battle waging within him. I feel so betrayed. Why did you wait until now to tell me? Because I was afraid, Lucas, I admitted, my own voice cracking. Afraid of how you would react. Afraid of what it would do to our relationship. I thought I could protect you from the pain of knowing. Protect me? He scoffed, wiping his eyes angrily. You think this is protection? I feel like a stranger in my own life. I reached out, gently placing my hand on his shoulder. I never wanted to hurt you. I love you like my own son. You mean the world to me, and I thought keeping this from you would keep you safe. He stepped back, shaking his head. You don't understand. I need to know why he didn't want me, why he never tried to find me. I need to confront him. Lucas, please, I pleaded, my heart racing with fear. Don't make any rash decisions. He might not have known about you until recently. This is all new for him too. But Lucas was resolute. I have to know the truth, Hannah. I can't keep living a lie. As he turned away, I felt a hollow pit form in my stomach. Chasm between us had widened, and I could sense the rift growing deeper. Lucas, wait. Paused but didn't turn back. I need time. I can't look at you right now. And with that, he walked away, leaving me standing there, shattered. I felt as if the ground had been pulled from under me, and I was drowning in my own guilt and pain. How had I let it come to this? I had tried to protect him, and in doing so, I had only pushed him further away. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the blank canvas propped against the wall. The soft morning light filtered through the curtains, casting gentle shadows that danced on the floor. It felt as if the world outside was moving on, while I remained trapped in a whirlwind of emotions. Lucas had chosen to spend more time with Alex, and I couldn't shake the feeling of loss, as if a part of me was fading away with each moment he was away. Why does it hurt so much? I whispered to myself, my heart heavy with the weight of my thoughts. The bond I had with Lucas felt like it was slipping through my fingers, and I desperately longed to reclaim it. Taking a deep breath, I picked up my paintbrush, familiar texture grounding me. I dipped it into the vibrant red paint, color representing the tumultuous emotions swirling within me. I let the brush glide across the canvas, creating bold strokes that mirrored the pain I felt. Each swipe was cathartic, releasing the tension that had built up inside me since the revelation of Lucas's true parentage. Maybe this is how I can find myself again, I thought, drawing on the memories of happier times when I had poured my heart into my artwork. Art had always been my refuge, a place where I could express my deepest fears and hopes without judgment. I remembered the countless hours I spent in my studio, lost in a world of colors and shapes. It was time to return to that sanctuary. As the hours passed, I became immersed in my work, layering colors and textures until a form began to emerge. It was a representation of my journey, a swirling mass of reds and blues, symbolizing the chaos of my emotions, but also hints of green, representing hope and renewal. I stepped back to observe my creation, and a sense of accomplishment washed over me. I heard a knock on my door, pulling me from my reverie. "Anna, can I come in?" It was Sarah, one of my closest friends and fellow teachers. I opened the door, and she stepped inside, her eyes widening as she took in the sight of my artwork. "Wow, Hannah, this is incredible," she exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine admiration. "What's the story behind it?" I hesitated, my throat tightening. It's a reflection of everything I've been feeling lately, about Lucas, about my past, and my fear of losing him. Sarah's expression softened. "I can see that. The colors are so intense. It's like you're pouring your soul onto the canvas." I nodded, biting my lip to hold back the tears that threatened to spill. I just don't know who I am without him in my life. He was my anchor, and now I feel adrift. "Maybe this is your way of finding yourself again," she suggested gently. "You've always had such a passion for teaching and art. You need to remember that you are more than just Lucas's mentor. You have your own dreams and identity." Her words resonated deeply within me. "You're right, Sarah. I need to rediscover who I am beyond being a teacher or a mother figure. Can't lose myself in this situation." As we talked, I felt a flicker of hope igniting within me. I realized that this journey of self-discovery could lead to healing, not just for me, but for my relationship with Lucas as well. After Sarah left, I returned to my canvas, pouring my heart into the painting with renewed vigor. Each color became a part of my healing process, a way to reclaim my identity. I painted late into the night, losing track of time as I lost myself in the rhythm of creation. Days later, I stood in front of my finished piece at a local gallery exhibit. The artwork was a bold representation of my emotional journey, filled with swirling colors that captured my pain but also a sense of hope. As people admired it, I felt a wave of vulnerability wash over me. Then, from the corner of my eye, I spotted Lucas. He had come to see my work. My heart raced as he approached, a mix of fear and excitement coursing through me. "Hey, Miss Hannah, this is really amazing," he said, his eyes wide with admiration. "Thank you, Lucas. It means a lot coming from you," I replied, my voice trembling slightly. "This piece, it's about everything we've been through. I wanted to express how much you mean to me." He studied the painting, brow furrowing. "I can see that. It's like you're showing how complicated everything is." "Yes, exactly," I said, feeling a surge of connection. Sometimes, life feels chaotic and overwhelming, but there's always a chance for healing and understanding. Lucas nodded, and for a moment, I felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps through this journey of rediscovery, we could bridge the gap that had formed between us. As I wandered through the gallery, the vibrant colors of the artwork around me blended seamlessly into a whirlwind of emotions. It was an event showcasing the talents of students, but for me, it felt like a battlefield. I could see the proud faces of parents, the laughter echoing in the air, but my heart was heavy, burdened by the recent revelations that had shaken every foundation I thought I stood on. Then, I spotted him, Lucas, standing in front of a large canvas. The piece was raw and powerful, a visual representation of the confusion and pain he had been wrestling with. The strokes of blue and gray mirrored the turmoil inside him, and I felt a pang of sadness mixed with pride. He had transformed his struggles into art, and it struck me deeply. I approached slowly, unsure if I should say anything. "Lucas," I began, my voice barely above a whisper, "this is incredible." He turned to me, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. You think so? He asked, his voice cracking. Absolutely. It captures so much emotion, I replied, trying to hold back my own. You've poured your heart into this. I just don't understand any of it, he confessed, frustration evident in his tone. Everything I thought I knew, it's all a lie. I feel like I don't even know who I am anymore. I wanted to reach out to comfort him, but the distance between us felt insurmountable. I hesitated, and in that moment, Alex stepped into view. His presence loomed large, and I could see the tension between father and son. Lucas's expression shifted, anger bubbling just below the surface. Lucas, Alex called, his voice steady. Can we talk? Buck? Lucas scoffed, crossing his arms. You mean like you did when you weren't around? Where were you all these years, Dad? I didn't know you existed until recently. Alex shot back, defensive. I was trying to protect you from my world and the pressures of fame. Protect me? By abandoning me? Lucas's voice rose, raw with emotion. You don't get to play the victim here. I felt my heart race, torn between wanting to intervene and letting them hash it out. I could sense the hurt radiating from Lucas, and I knew deep down that Alex's intentions, however misguided, were rooted in fear. Lucas, I finally said, stepping closer. I think you need to hear him out. Why? So he can give me another excuse? Lucas turned to me, the hurt in his eyes cutting through me like ice. I thought you were on my side. I am, I promise, I said quickly, desperation creeping into my voice. But sometimes, understanding where someone's coming from can help heal the wounds. Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. I was terrified when I found out about you, Lucas. I was still trying to figure out my own life, and the last thing I wanted was to drag you into my chaos. I thought it would be better for you, that you'd be safer without me. Safer? I've spent my whole life wondering who my father was. You think that's safety? Lucas's voice trembled with anger and pain. But beneath it, I sensed a flicker of understanding beginning to form. I thought I was doing the right thing, Alex replied, his voice softening. But I see now that I was wrong. I should have been there for you. I'm sorry. The gallery felt suffocating, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. I watched as Lucas's expression shifted from anger to confusion, a whirlwind of emotions playing across his face. I don't know if I can just forgive you, Lucas said, his voice wavering. I trusted you to be there, and you weren't. Trust takes time to rebuild, I interjected gently. But maybe it starts with honesty. There's no easy way to navigate this, but you both deserve a chance to understand each other. Lucas looked at me, then back at Alex, conflict clear in his eyes. What changed? He asked quietly. Why are you here now? Alex took a deep breath, his gaze steady. Because I found out about you, and I realized I had a choice to make. I could either continue to hide, or I could step up and be the father you deserve. And what if I don't want you in my life? Lucas's voice was barely audible, and I felt my heart ache for him. Then I'll respect that, Alex said, voice heavy with emotion. But I want you to know that I'm here for you now, and I want to be a part of your life if you'll let me. I glanced at Lucas, who seemed lost in thought. The silence stretched between us like a fragile thread, and I could feel the weight of their shared history pressing down on us. Finally, Lucas spoke, his voice steadier. I need time to think about this. I'm not ready to just accept you yet. I understand, Alex replied, hint of relief in his voice. Just know that I'm not going anywhere. As we stood there, the tension slowly began to dissipate, an unspoken understanding settling into the air. I could see the flicker of hope in Lucas's eyes, the possibility of a new beginning. In that moment, I realized that family isn't always defined by blood. Sometimes it's about the connections we forge through love, understanding, and forgiveness. And as we stood in that gallery, three souls intertwined by fate, I felt a sense of renewal wash over me. Chance for healing, for acceptance, and for a brand new start. Hey, if you found this story interesting, just wait till you hear about Jake. On that same rainy night in New York, Jake, this arrogant millionaire, was all about closing another big deal, until a random encounter flipped his world upside down. A simple request from a homeless guy, words that seemed like nonsense, but Jake couldn't shake them off. Who was this guy, and what did he say that messed with Jake's head so much? Find out the unexpected twist that challenged everything he believed in. Tap on the video on your screen now, and see how one small moment can change a life forever.